I mentioned the five fingers. The leader of one finger is heading to China. Pushpa Kamal Dahal, aka Prachand, the Prime Minister of Nepal, he will be attending the Asian Games opening ceremony tomorrow. He will also meet Chinese President Xi Jinping. It's a pretty long visit. Prachand will be in China for 8 days. So what can we expect? China's game plan seems to be pretty clear. Pull Nepal away from India. That's what they want. Just look at this article on Chinese state media. Let me quote, "While providing some support and assistance, India often resorts to rude and unilateral actions towards Nepal. In contrast, China strictly adheres to the 5 principles of peaceful coexistence and never interferes in Nepal's internal affairs." Now, this is supposed to be an opinion piece. It's more of a stand-up comedy. China is notorious for meddling in internal affairs, and they have done so in Nepal as well. Reports say Beijing united the 2 Communist Party factions in Nepal. Prachand himself is a communist, by the way. Apparently, China was betting on ideological brotherhood. Hasn't panned out, though. Just consider the backdrop of this visit. Earlier this month, China's ambassador to Nepal targeted India. He said Nepal was unfortunate to have a neighbor like New Delhi. Listen to what he said.
But fortunately, you had a neighbor like India, because India is a huge market, huge potential you can tap into. But at the same time, India's policy towards Nepal and other neighbors are not so friendly.
Diplomats do not talk like that, but then again, this is a wolf warrior. Days later, Nepal rejected his comment, though. Kathmandu said it is fortunate to have a neighbor like India. In many ways, this episode sums up Prachand's dilemma. He needs money from China, but he cannot abandon his most important partner, that is India. And it's a very tough balance. Prachand has sent some positive signals to New Delhi. For starters, he visited India first. Now, it's been a tradition for Nepalese prime ministers. They always visit India first. Prachand's predecessor considered ending this trend. His name is Palki Sharma Oli. There was talk of him visiting China first, but in the end, good sense prevailed. He came to India first. Oli's tenure was bad for India-Nepal ties, though. He released a map claiming Indian territories as part of Nepal. A diplomatic crisis followed, so Prachand's job is tough now. He came to India on a mission to fix the relationship. But in China, he faces the next challenge. Courting Beijing without angering New Delhi, that's his challenge. You may ask, why bother? Why does Nepal need China's help? It has already plunged 2 South Asian countries into crisis, Sri Lanka and Pakistan. So why does Nepal want to be the next one? Because every country likes to have options. Around 65% of Nepal's trade passes through India. Nepal, you see, is a landlocked country. It doesn't have direct access to the sea. So goods are taken from Indian ports to Nepal. And Kathmandu is wary of this arrangement. In the past, India has cut off Nepal's trade routes. There have been months-long blockades. So what are they doing now? They're looking for alternatives. In 2016, Nepal signed a transit agreement with China, basically to use Chinese ports instead of Indian ones. Now, for 7 years, no progress has been made on this. No shipments came, but this month, there was headway. The first batch of goods arrived in Nepal via China. Around 15 tons of turmeric came from Vietnam. It's a very symbolic move. But beyond that, what are China's interests in Nepal? Kathmandu did join the Belt and Road Initiative. Again, the progress is nil. Reports say 9 BRI projects were promised, all 9 are stalled. A different project was completed, though, the international airport in Pokhara. China's ambassador claimed that it was built under the BRI. Nepal rejected it. They said the agreement was signed before Nepal joined the Belt and Road. Still, India is not happy. New Delhi has refused to allow flights between Pokhara and Indian airports. And this is the tough balance we talked about. New Delhi wants Nepal to put India first. But Kathmandu wants options, not just in China, but even beyond. For instance, they have approved a US project as well. It's called the MCC, the Millennium Challenge Corporation. Under this deal, the US will give $500 million to Nepal, and these are grants, not loans. So India has its work cut out in Nepal. Having said that, we have a natural advantage. India and Nepal share a lot of history and culture. Cross-border communism cannot replace that. Even on trade, New Delhi holds the edge. The overland route via China to Nepal is 3,000 kilometers, and via India, just 800 kilometers. So all factors point to Nepal benefiting from India, which is why New Delhi will be watching Prachand's visit closely.